Hello, everybody. I'm only seeing few people, so we'll just wait for a few more minutes and we'll start. Hi, Vidulaji, you can switch off your microphone if you're not speaking here. Okay, I'll close it from here. You may want to introduce yourself in the meantime.
Me?
Yes, Vidulaji.
Yes, I'm from Mauritius. I normally work with, I'm in charge of all the teachers who teach values in the Satyasai organization in Mauritius. So we have
Excellent.
had some training with the teachers, how to teach values to children. We have trained the trainers also. So I'm anytime there's something on value teaching, I'm quite interested in that, and that's why I'm joining today.
Excellent. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
I see Brother Billy Fong here, but his video is off.
Hello, can you see me?
Yes, yes, now we can see you.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I just came in. Okay.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah.
Because we're just
Okay,
starting, there are a few people, so I thought we'll just use this time to introduce each other.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm from Malaysia. I'm with the Satisfied International Organization of Malaysia. I'm a trainer by profession. I specialize in the area of international trade. So I'm very interested to attend Brother Abi's session on values teachers training program.
Thank you, Thank you, Brother Billy. Hope
Yes.
we'll have this good session here. I've been doing this value education, so I thought this is a good time to, review these things and share it with the larger audience through this virtual means. So we'll start in just 2 minutes. We have a good section of teachers who are on the back end, and they are joining us from YouTube, and everybody can post their questions. So today we will be sharing about values philosophy behind the values education program. So I think we can start. Time is there, so we can start off. And as I usually do, as long as you're not speaking, we can switch off your microphones. So I'll do that. And as I normally do, we will start with our prayer. And we can say it behind with me or with Sairam. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you for this occasion, for this session on values education. Today, primarily, we'll be highlighting and discussing about the core philosophies of education. These philosophies are kind of foundation on which the value education edifice and value education systems are built on. So, just to summarize it, for any action we do in our life, there is a foundation of values. We understand as what is our basis, why do we do what we do, and the philosophies also define, help us to define what exactly is values education program, what are we doing with this program, and how are we trying to achieve what we want to achieve through this, and what is this encompassing, what is value education all about. And these are the philosophies which kind of form the foundation, the undercurrent of the whole program per se. So before any further ado, let us jump into the philosophies of values education program. Uh, Let me start this. 1 minute. I'm just going to pull up the slides. Oh gosh. Hmm. The first, the first philosophy, what we always like to understand is unity in diversity. This unity in diversity, as the name would suggest, is an idea behind the whole concept of how do we love every child in the same manner. How do we perform an education system which will have no discrimination, no bias towards anybody. See, when we send our teachers to classroom, we expect our teachers to be loving to everybody. We expect that don't discriminate for any reason, correct? And at the same time, we are also expecting them to give equal attention to all the children. But human nature kicks in, and you realize that each time the teacher is engaging with the children, they will feel that there are some children who respond very well. There are some children who have got better equation. They feel better with them, and the teacher will say, these children are not responding. So by natural instinct, it happens that you are not able to perform in the same manner. But the same teacher, when he goes home and all finds their children at home, different children, but there, that same teacher does not find any issue in loving all their children with variety of receptiveness. But in the classroom, it becomes difficult. Now, the only way you can love everybody, when that belonging, that feeling of oneness in the teachers comes. And this philosophy of education of unity in diversity, this is that that philosophy which actually reminds us how we can practice that. Now, what is this unity in diversity? Now, we have got different children, different people. The basic question which we keep asking and try to tell the child is that, baby, you are a child. Starting from a kindergarten onwards, we need to realize them that they are children. What children they are? They are human child. Our master Bhagwan Baba used to very beautifully explain. He said it's not important that you only say that I am a human being. You have to also remind what you are not. So you have to tell the both sides of the coin. And that is important in education. So don't tell a child don't do. You also have to tell the child what to do. Because if you only tell them not to do, not to do, not to do, they will revolt. because they cannot always think about an alternate thought as to what they are expected to. They only understand that I have been asked not to do it. So the philosophy and the style, the pedagogy says that you not only tell them what you are, but you also remind them what you are not. So when he taught us management, also in the first letter M was the mind of man. He said you have a mind of man, not of animal. See, this not of animal is equally important as saying you are human being. You have a mind of man. You are a human mind. You are not an animal mind. So these both sentences are important to be conveyed to our children, because then only they know that how they are supposed to conduct and how they are not supposed to conduct. So when we talk about a child, when we start our education with the children, the first thing we are supposed to enlighten them, first thing we are supposed to give them the focus is that first they are children, irrespective of age. If they are a kindergarten children, primary school, higher secondary school, they must understand that they are children of that age, and then decide what is that age determine. Now imagine a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old coming to you and said, Mom, how do you cook? Let me have your menu card. Teach me how, show me what kind of ingredients you're using. You're going to smile at him and say, just relax. Imagine a child going to a father and saying, let me discuss the mortgage issues. I feel you are in stress today. Would you like that kind of scenario? Because that age is not appropriate. The question might be valid, but the age is not appropriate to discuss certain things. So we have to also remind them that, yeah, hey, they are, you are children. So remain in that childhood stage, enjoy that state, because when you grow up, you will automatically take into other roles. So when we start this education program, we have to understand that first and foremost, we are trying to enlighten them. They are human children. They are children. At least forget about the God's child and all that. That becomes a little higher jump. But first and foremost, you are a human being. And once that equality comes that all of us are human beings, then let us look at the origin of it. And then we slowly start understanding that can we love everybody as human beings? This oneness, anytime you find a point of unity, anytime we are able to address and reach upon a state of unification, a point of mergence, you have arrived at the unity, you have found a way to divinity. So always in our program, we need to keep finding, need to analyzing ourselves and seeing what is the commonality that I can catch, what is that common factor that I can touch upon, which will ultimately help my children and myself understand the underlying unity among each other. So as a teacher, when I walk into the class, and I believe they are all my children, they are all human beings, and as a human being they deserve equal treatment, I have found a unifying factor. And once this human values or this spiritual orientation is higher on teachers, then they will also understand that all these are gifts of my God. My God has given them as a gift to me. So they understand that, look, now the unifying factor is not just they are human beings, they are also a gift to me by my Lord. That becomes a higher unifying factor. So if you keep analyzing, if you keep thinking about it, then more and more love and compassion easily will flow. And that is what this philosophy of unity in diversity helps us to achieve. So more and more we start contemplating on the unifying factors in our style of teaching, in our educational curriculum, in anything you deal in life, you are getting closer to your own core nature of divinity. See, the more and more we are evolving, as I have already shared few glimpses in my earlier workshops, that the whole life concept is this question, who am I? The whole struggle is that only. The whole challenge, the whole adventure of life is to discover who am I. And this formal education is also a formal way of approaching that same science. By learning about our life, by learning about our value systems, all of this put together, we are able to reach to a level wherein we are helping our children to get those tools so that they can question, they can analyze, they can self introspect into this journey of to find the unifying factor. So, unity in diversity is a very beautiful concept which not only helps us to understand the underlying unity in this so called manifested diverse world, but it also gives us the tools and the conviction of how to approach life so that we can find unity more and more. Now, keeping this in mind, do you think it is easy for you to walk into the classroom and feel the love for every child? Imagine if your master, whosoever it may be, if he says you, okay, my child, I love you so much, you become the teacher of this class, and I'm going to hand over 20 children to you. Now imagine with that feeling if you walk into the classroom that these 20 children are given to me by my master to take care. Do you think you need anybody else's motivational talk to do that? You'll be fired up because you know this is the gift of my God. That my God has given me to serve these 20 children, to help them. And this one common factor, that these children are from God or from my master or from my duty, is enough to unify, to whole create the environment of unity and love and peace and harmony in that. So this is the first and the most beautiful philosophy of unity in diversity. So I usually like to give my teachers this assignment and say, okay, what you should do, all of you, those who are especially in the teaching realm, I will give you a task. Each philosophy we go through today, I would like you all to think the way you can implement this or the way you are implementing it, and any illustrations that you can share which will help you or help everybody who is joining us to understand how this concept can be practiced in the classroom. Okay, so keep that in mind. So every philosophy we go through, we will also look at and see how we can practice these and what are the different ways in which we have been able to contribute in the system. Okay, so the next philosophy is of human values. Now I call it a philosophy because human values are undercurrent of the whole thing, and I want you to at least spend some good amount, good time on this. Human values, as we have already commonly we have been hearing it, and we all have been discussing about it, that human values are basically these five core. But can anybody have you ever thought that why, out of all the values in the world, why these five have been identified? Can anybody think of as to why these five human values have been given and why in that particular order? So today, let me tell you the story. I've tried to explain this and try to understand this with a story format of what these values are and how they are, come into picture. See, first and the foremost, very important is to understand who am I before I can implement anything in life. Before I can expect my child to behave in a manner that I want, the child must know who is he. If there is a child of a monkey, he will conduct in a particular manner, correct? If he is a child of a human being, he'll conduct in a different manner. If he is a child of, say, a bird, he'll conduct in a different manner. Now, I cannot expect, I cannot judge them, so to say, if one child behaves like another child. So first of all, we have to come to the agreement that who am I? That's why I keep insisting of that we have to first instill this faith in the children that they are a human child and not of animal or of anybody else, not of demons, not of animals, only human. Let us start there. So you are a human child. This and the child of what age? Now, for example, let's take example primarily for all of us here. We are all at least an adult age group. I see some range here. Maybe we are all at least we are 20 plus, if I put it in a simple language. So we all have a certain responsibility and various roles that we play. Now let's take an example of anybody. So say, for example, you are a lady of say 30 years old. You are a mother, you are a wife, you are a teacher, you are a friend. So there are many roles which we play. Now the question is, when I say who are you, who am I, that who am I also start explaining that do I understand what each role means. So when I say I'm a son, does it mean that I understand what son means, what being a son means? At the same time, I'm also a brother, I'm also a friend, I may be an employer, employee. So in all these various roles that I am by default playing every day in and out, do I understand every section of this role? And there can be, then we'll understand the conflict. For example, you can be a teacher, a very valid, very dedicated teacher in the classroom, and suddenly you get a call that your child has some accident at home. Now there's a conflict between two roles. One role says you are a teacher, you be focused, this is your dedicated timeline. And then you are a mother or a father, as a parent, you get a call. Now what do you do? Which role takes prominence? And how do you know, take care of both the roles? Do you just run away because you say that is my priority? Or do you call somebody and says, please take care of my class and I'm gone? Or you say, no, I cannot look at you right now because right now I'm just being a teacher. After my class is over, then I look at you as my mother or father. There are different options will come into play, and you will find the dilemma. You will find this, ethical dilemmas if the clarity of our role is not there. So the more and more we are clear about who we are and at what point of time which role takes precedence and how we switch between roles and how do we perform ourselves at the best of our capacity and how do we justify every role that has been bestowed on us, this understanding, mind my words, this knowledge, this understanding, this knowing of the different facets of all my roles is truth. So when I understand who am I, I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm whatever, this knowing is truth. See, unless we know, we cannot act. And people who act without knowing, they fall flat. They lose their steam very fast. And the challenge is that direction will not come unless you know. See, this is our anchor. The truth is our anchor. The moment I am doing something, how do I know whether I'm going in the right direction or not? Only my truth can tell me. And that is why the truth is the most important and the core basic human values. So when we talk about human values, the first and the foremost value which manifests, we name it as truth. Because this is what we are supposed to. Who am I? What is my role? What is my duty? What am I supposed to do in this scenario? See, this knowing, janami dharmam, that knowing the dharma, knowing the truth, that is the important thing. So that is why the first truth, the first value which our master gave was truth. Now, the moment you know what you are, and then when you conduct on it, that becomes righteousness. See, the moment I act on my truth, it becomes righteousness. If I know I am a son and I conduct according to that, that act will be called as right act. If I know I'm a teacher and the way I reach my class on time, I'm prepared well on time, I have my lesson plans in place, I'm doing what is supposed to be done by a teacher, my action will be called as right action. So if you don't know what you are and you conduct and you feel you are right, that may or may not be right. And that may not lead into the right conclusions and right destination because your anchor is wrong. See, sometimes we get too passionate about an act. We get so passionate about act that we start neglecting our other roles. We get lost because, and we believe in our actions, but we forget that action without the anchor of truth can mislead you, can take you divergent into a path which you will wonder like where I went wrong. The action per se may not be wrong, but if action is not in alignment with truth, then it can become not right. So right action is right action only when it originates and leads to truth. So truth is the anchor. Once I understand what is my truth, and then when I conduct accordingly, that conduct becomes and reflected upon and is defined as a right action or right conduct or righteousness. Now, the beauty of today's world is that today it is, there was a time in Dwapara, in Treta Yuga, the different aeons, when people knew exactly what to do, what not to do. And there was no conflict of interest. There was no conflict of understanding also. People are very clear. Like, if I am supposed to do this, I will do this. But today, everybody does whatever they feel like and they can justify it. So today, the moral dilemma is not between right and wrong. And I keep, in fact, I do many workshops on that. The challenge is not between right and wrong. Today, the challenge is right versus right. Your right versus my right. Because both of us can justify our right. Why I slapped you, I have got my justification. Because I feel so and I have justification of doing that. Why did I conduct in certain manner? It's my justification. The whole world can say you are wrong, but you can justify and you are right. So the problem today is whose right is right? You believe in that? See, something like there was a very beautiful, an example given during a workshop for debating these dilemmas, moral dilemmas. There is a very beautiful proverb which says, one who has the unity of thought, word, and deed is termed as yogi, or is termed as a good soul, a higher being. And the one who has disunity or disharmony between thought, word, and deed is classified as an evil man or a demon. Now, this is I call them as like laws from the Vedic texts. They are true. But look at today's time. It was never debated before. In all the eons, they believe this. But in Kali, in today's era, we debate that. Now, I'll give you an example for it. They say a thief who is so confident, he believes that this is my art, and he wants to steal, he wants to rob a bank. So he believes in his strength and capacity. He announces to the world. So unity of thought, word. He announces that at such and such date, at such and such time, such and such bank, I'm going to rob. And he challenges the cops. You have the capacity, then stop me. And on that day and that time, he goes and robs it. So people are today's time, they ask, hey, can we classify him as saint now? Because he has shown a perfect unity of thought, word, and deed. He called it, he said it, and he executed it. So his thought, word, and deed is in alignment. He said, I'm going to kill you. He went and killed. So, period, man. He believed in it, he said it, and he acted upon it. So, what do you say about that? So, he was truthful. He conducted according to the truth. So, he feels he's right because he believed in it. He believed that by doing that, I'm going to achieve something higher state of life. It's his belief. Now, how can you debate that? See, when you come into this kind of conflict of moral dilemmas, then it becomes very challenging to figure out how do we define righteousness? How do we understand that my act is really right or not? How do I know that I am correct? And there comes the next value to our rescue. And that value is peace. Only when your action brings peace within you and around you, that qualifies that your action was true, originated from truth, and can be classified as righteousness. If the action does not result in peace within you, it does not result peace around you in your family, then probably that action was not righteous. And this is the key which all of us need to understand. So hence came the third value of what we call as truth, right conduct, and then peace. So truth you believe in, what you know, what you are supposed to be, and then when you conduct, it becomes right conduct and righteousness, and the way it results is in peace. So we got three values. And the fourth value. Now the problem with all of us in life is that today you hear a nice speech, today you go to your master and everything is so beautiful, and you go on in this high steam and high more energy for almost a week or so, and then suddenly after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, the energy starts dropping, and then you say, oh my god, I think I need a break. I want to go for a break holiday, or I need another motivational talk. See why it happens that each time we are motivated for some time, and then our motivation drops. Why does it happen? Why is that every time we need some kind of a pep talk or some kind of an encouragement to handle life? Have you ever thought about it? Have you thought that what is that which is missing? And that is, if you analyze about it, then you realize that the reason behind our motivation and demotivation is a very subtle and a beautiful element, and that is the factor of love. See, as a there are so many mothers here and ladies, you can relate it better. Unfortunately, the male men are discounted very often in this area, but still, just for understanding purposes. See, you could be working outside, you could be doing the whole day work, and you must be dead tired. But when your children come back from school or they come back from playing, and then they look at you and they are saying, "Mom, I need something to eat," you don't even hesitate. You don't even, complain. You just get up and start doing it. In fact, I'll give you a live example. Okay, let's take your example that you have an office to go to or a school to go to, and you leave home early morning because you have to reach your work on time. There's a lot of traffic. Okay, you hit the traffic, and there are people honking, the cars, and the mess. Especially if you're in India, you have a better experience. If you're in other part of the world, then you have to start waiting in the line queue before you can get a way out. So a lot of traffic. You reach office, and when you reach there, then you have another problem. Your boss is waiting with some excuse, and if you're a teacher, then you have children problem. Then you have, people are running around. So there are issues all around. And by the time you spend your day discussing with parents, dealing with children, handling your formalities of the office, filling the reports, if you look at all of these confusion, you're tired, and then you fight back the traffic again and you reach home. Now you have come home before everybody else comes, and then you start cooking for night. You just want to take a break, and you feel like, let me have something to eat, and you want to take a nap, a short nap, maybe a power nap. You open the fridge and you find nothing is left because your son must have come and just ransacked the fridge before you. But you find little bit, and you assemble the crumples and you create a plate, and you say, okay, let me take at least these two morsels, and you put the plate down and you're ready to eat. At the same time, your child runs inside and says, "Mom, I just came back from play and I'm hungry." What would you do? Would you tell him, "Get lost"? Would you tell him, "I'm not interested, let me eat and rest for some time"? You immediately, same morsel you will take and turn towards your baby and you feed him. Correct? And when you feed him, the child gets happy and you also smile back. Then you take a two sip of glass and you say, "Let me nap for 2 minutes." What made you not lose your temper? What keep you that motivation alive? In spite of you being tired, frustrated, sometimes sick, what makes you keep going your routine day in and day out, day in and day out? That is the factor of love. Because the way you love your children, the way you love your family is immeasurable. You cannot explain that. And that is the love which keeps your motivation so high that in spite of all the tension, in spite of all the trouble, in spite of all these pressures, you still do not change the way you have to conduct. And that is what is important to understand, that when we look at the whole concept of how one should perform our duties, if the factor of inquiry is filled with love, I'm not inquiring into the truth of who am I with anger or with frustration or with fear of losing something or somebody complaining or somebody punishing me, but I'm doing it because it's my joy to know who am I. When I'm not conducting out of the fear of losing a job or salary being cut or somebody complaining about me, but I'm doing it because I love it. I go to work on time not because somebody's looking at me, but because I like to, I want to. It's my joy, it's my pleasure. See, when the driving force becomes love and not fear, then life is different. So we realize that unless and until the love becomes a driving force for everything, including your inquiry into the truth, your action, your right actions, and the way you feel the calm and peace, you should even love that. Today, Corona has forced us to sit at home. Corona has made this, I would say, in negativity, you find this very positive element. It has forced us to relax. Even then, we are not ready to relax. We are jumping in the house itself. Before, if I would ask somebody, hey, why don't you rest? They said, there's no time, man, too busy. I feel guilty of resting. So people are always rushing. Today, Corona has made us realize that you can relax, just sit at home. We can't even sit for one day properly. We are so frustrated because we have not practiced this. We have not understood how to face ourselves. There was a contemporary sage Vaswani. His name was Sadhu Vaswani. He gave a very beautiful quote, and I love that. He would say, if you cannot enjoy your own company, why do you thrust it on others? If you cannot enjoy your own company, why do you thrust it on others? And that's the main problem with all of us, is that we cannot face ourselves. I don't like my company, so I want you to be with me. So you can tolerate me because I can't tolerate myself. So we make friends so that others can tolerate me, but I cannot make friends because I'm so happy that people want to be with me. See, that is a difference of approach. And this comes only when the driving undercurrent force is love. It is only possible when we understand that love is the driving force for inquiry into the truth, for conducting as a righteousness, and then sustaining that peace. So, if you want to feel the peace and calm and fulfillment, that sustenance of peace is not possible without the element of love. And hence, we got the fourth value, what is love. And then comes the fifth element, and this is something very beautiful. Actually, when our master gave this fifth value, he did not give it before in the same breath. This came little later. But it's worth contemplating. What is non-violence? Why was this considered as a value? Truth, right conduct, love, peace, and love. Perfect. Then what is non-violence? How did this become the core value? Now look at the state of non-violence. How we understand. Unfortunately, we don't have here, the option to discuss and ask you questions. But I'm just throwing the questions so you can think about it. How do we define non-violence normally? See, normally we have a thought. We say non-violence is not hurting others. Am I right? We always say don't hurt by thought, word, or deed. Not only action, even if you abuse or you think, that is non-violent. So we can be very openly, we can say that, yes, safely we can say that non-violence is not to hurt others. But actually, the definition does not end here. The true non-violence is not this. Now let us go deeper into the same definition. What is hurt? How do you define hurt? I would have loved to give you this thought and left it so that you can think about it. But due to this constraint of communication, I'm going to continue. So, what is this concept of hurt? How do we define hurt? If you look at the hurt, it's when somebody slaps you, you feel hurt, right? But if your child, a baby or 5-year-old, comes and plays with you, and the play he hurts you, he slaps you, do you feel hurt? You don't. But if an adult comes and just simply does this much, a soft hit on your cheek, you feel you're hurt, your ego is hurt, that how dare you slap me? Even though the hurt of child hitting you might be more than an adult giving you a small, shot like that. But the hurt which you feel by the adult will be higher than the child. Why? So hurt, that shows that it is our acceptance to the fact which defines our hurt. So when our maturity level rises, the hurt level decreases. When our acceptance rises, the understanding of hurt disappears. That's why probably the masters, the spiritual giants, the gods and avatars and the spiritual real gurus, they never feel personal about anything. They don't have any hurt feeling. They don't get hurt if somebody abuses them also, or if somebody criticizes them also. They don't feel hurt. And they don't even react to them. They don't even worry about it. Because for them, it does not hurt. But we, when we hear about them, we start feeling hurt. How dare you talk about him like that? Because our level of understanding is low, so the capacity to handle differs. But when the capacity is higher, there is the concept of hurt also disappears. It becomes very different. The understanding of hurt is very different. So when you look at non-violence, what is that non-violence? Is actually the moment we deviate from our expected norms, we feel hurt. Correct? Now, that is a simple way of explaining what hurt is, that if you deviate from your norm, you find hurt. Now, what is that norm? That norm is nothing but the same thing what truth is. So if you deviate from truth, actually that is hurt. So hurt will not happen when somebody slaps you or abuses you. It happens the moment you deviate from the understanding of truth, it must hurt you. Now, from the very gross sense, if you look at it, forget about wasting the food. Even the thought of wastage must hurt you. Even the thought of not using a resource properly must give you a feeling of hurt, and that is violence. So any deviation from the expected norm of truth is violence, and to remain in that norm is non-violence. So like my master would very sweetly say, that when you talk, you boys talk so loudly, as if you want the whole room to hear about you. If I'm talking to you and at distance I'm standing, understand that and speak in that volume so only you two can listen. Don't be like those illiterate people who play the radios and the whole area is going to listen about that radio song, as if he's not listening but he wants the whole colony to listen to it. So the point is, the utilization of resource is such that you speak only as much as is required, in the same and expected volume as it is required. You eat as much as required, not less, not more. You sleep as much as required, not less, not more. You talk, you walk, you do everything you do must be in that perfect rhythm. Then truly we become non-violent. This definition, when I really first time learned it, I was floored, because I never comprehended the magnanimity, the grandeur, the scope of this word non-violence. Now imagine we called Gautam Buddha as an epitome of non-violence. Can you imagine what state he had arrived, wherein he talked only what was required and the amount was required. He ate only the amount was required, not less, not more. And our master Bhagwan Baba was again the, the generator of these things. Imagine the perfection in which he lived. So when we look at this non-violence from that perspective, we come to an understanding that non-violence is actually a perfect state of living, a perfect state of being, wherein a being is in sync, in alignment with the attribute, with the qualification, with the duties of his life. So, the way I'm supposed to conduct at my age, in my body, in my responsibilities, I'm perfectly in alignment with the nature. And that becomes the non-violent way of life. You see that? And that is not possible unless we have this journey of values. Unless we understand what truth is, what right conduct is, how do we experience peace, and how do we sustain it with love, we cannot maintain a standard, a life which is so perfectly in alignment, which we call as non-violence. So this is how the five values have come about. Now, these are the basic philosophies which actually sustains the whole curriculum. All our lesson plans are devised based on them. All our routine of the school is designed based on them. And these each one is broken down into sub values so that we can explain and let children and us practice these values throughout the year. So by the time they finish the year, we would have given them roughly, if not more, roughly around 50 to 100 words, new vocabularies to use, and at least, if not much, at least 24 new words to practice. Why do we do that? Is only for this reason, that these values are the means to achieve higher states of life. So in the formal education system, the human values philosophy is the very basis of the whole curriculum. How do we infuse it? How do we integrate it into the curriculum? And how do we present it becomes the key of our value education. I see some questions coming up, so let's look at that also. Ishwari, I'm just going to flash things here so we all can read together. Even violent thoughts of person will reach the individual receiving the thought, as we are all energy, thinking happy and beautiful thoughts of others strengthen society. Sure, sister, thank you. Our Ferry says it was someone who tried to find a teacher who was believed to be able to show the path of enlightenment, where someone could understand who he really was. But nowadays, people generally become mechanical, which includes children in themselves, with the reason to get just an academic understanding that can. Yes, Ferry, unfortunately, to find those teachers is also not easy. That's why yesterday also I said that our job is not to find a teacher. Our job is to prepare ourselves as a good student, and the teacher would come. And that is very important. So I think we have reached our time line, but I will just close with this one more concept for all of us. And or maybe I can handle it next time. If you want to continue further, I can still go for a few minutes more, but I want to just respect the time. So if I don't know how to do raise of hands to say if you want to continue further, but just let me, if you have any questions, you can always write it down here, and or you can even tell me and I can put you on the screen. We can have a talk, or let me at least take you for one more thing. This is a concept from human values. When we talk about practicing the human values, there is a new concept which comes as 3EHV. 3HV. Now, I know most of you who are exposed to these things might have heard it, but it's good to have a kind of a perspective on this. As I was telling you before, the union of head, heart, and hand, the thought, word, and deed, that creates what we call as a good person or a higher being. This concept of 3HV obviously stems from our human values of 5 human values which come into play. Now, the idea behind this 3HV is that we need to help children understand values from a practical perspective. So, when I say practical perspective, I mean children must also appreciate, because we must appreciate that children have a different learning capacities. Okay, every child may not learn in the same way, but unfortunately, in our traditional style of teaching, there is a lot of what should I say, speaking for teaching purposes. So there is only one method, which is lecturing. So lecturing is only one means in which a child has to use his eyes and ears most to grasp things. But there are other senses through which they can learn. Some children learn by touching. Some children learn by doing things. They want to have practical experiences. Some children want to do some role plays. They want to play around. Children, they really want to experience it and feel it. So there are very ways in which the lesson or topics can be taught to them. Now, this 3HV concept actually helps us in a couple of ways. One, it helps us to identify that how do we define our lesson activity portion. Lesson activities can be defined through head activities, hand activity, and heart activities. There are something which can be debated, discussed, which brings us to analyze our scenarios and understand how the child feels and guide the children towards right thinking process. So that could be heart. Head, analysis, reading abilities, critical thinking, those are head. And hand, obviously, practical implementation. So there are 3HV concept helps us not only to understand that we have to align these three things, we have to understand, help the children to realize that whatever they believe, they must first take it to their head, which means they must first analyze it. They must first critically think. And only when they are convinced in their head, then they must send it to the heart. Heart means they must have the aesthetic, that ethos, the feeling that it is right. But can I say it? I want to call a blind man, but I cannot call him a blind man, come here. I am speaking the truth, but the truth may hurt. Is it right? So the heart will say no, the head will say right. So when you have this comparison, when it comes from head, it goes to heart for analysis, then the hand is ready to act. Hand is nothing but action. So you can call him, hey, blind man, come. Will you call him like that? No. So same thing, if sometimes we are emotional, we see a thing and we just want to jump and help somebody. But that pause and put it to head, that yes, your emotion says do it, but take a minute and let it go through this analysis of head. Is it right time to do it? Is it the right way to do it? Maybe you see a scenario and you literally should jump, but think about it. Are you of the right attitude, right skills, right scenario? Otherwise, you go emotionally to help somebody and you get blamed for it. That you have no qualification, you are not justified. How dare you come and help? In your name of help, you have messed up the scenario more. Now, you went with a good heart, but it got messed up. You got blamed for it. And then you come back crying and say, I had good intentions. I was doing it for the welfare. I was trying to help, but people don't understand me. That is true, they don't understand you because you did not use your head. So this 3HV concept also helps us to understand how do we take these three in sync. How do we understand, how do we integrate these three, head, heart, and hand. You cannot just do something just because you feel like it. You must first let them go to head and heart. So the sync of head and heart and head is the key for a human activity. If you are a human being, our scriptures very clearly define that reaction is animal. Action with discrimination is human. And action without expectation is divine. So reaction is animal. So the moment I am reacting to anything, I am coming from a state of animalhood. So what is the solution for it? The easy solution is, before we act, just pause. Pause for a second. Sometimes the pause initially can be for a day, for a week. It does not matter. Life is not going to run away. It is better not to act at the early ages than to act and get messed up and increase your karma. So it is better to understand how the process works. That's why in the school ages, the discipline is the highest, is the most important thing to have. People who think against discipline, they are highly mistaken. The discipline at home, the discipline at school, the discipline in hostels is critical, very, very essential for our children. So we must understand that discipline is not to hurt somebody, it is to give you that alignment in life. That because of that discipline, tomorrow our children will be able to make right calls in life. So this pause for a child is most important. They must learn to pause. And that is why we teach them silent sitting. We teach them light meditation. We teach them quiet corners. We teach them circle time. All these techniques and tools are used to develop this pause in life. Because the more and more these people start developing this pause, the more and more the children learn the technique of pausing before they can act, thinking before they can do, they got it. So this 3HV concept not only reminds us that we need to develop a symphony synchronization of head, heart, and hand, it also helps us to understand that we need activities for head, heart, and hand, and then teach the children how do we synchronize them. So this becomes our core philosophy again. So today, may I request all of you, so we have three things we learned today: unity in diversity, the journey of human values, and the culmination with 3HV. So in these three elements areas, if you have really enjoyed it, I would really like you to at least send me a note. You can email us, you can do whatever you feel like. You can send me a WhatsApp, email, or you can send a note. Tell us, how do you plan, or how are you practicing these things, and how they are helping you in implementation in your classrooms, in your life. So you can show me the implementation in the class programs, school programs, curriculum designing, lesson plan, lesson activities, in whatever format you feel like. It could be even in your home, it could be in your offices. So let us share, so that tomorrow we can all learn together, we can grow together. And this is the whole thing is, it's a session. I'm just being an instrument here, trying to create this forum so people from different countries can come together and benefit from each other. So I'm honestly telling you that this is not my knowledge per se. I'm just fortunate to be an instrument to share this with all of us. So this is our journey. So I would be happy if this thought can find its way into each one's heart, and being used as an experience to grow together. So for now, if anybody has any questions, any thoughts, any suggestions, you can please share. So brother Thiru has asked a question. I would like to take him here. Uh, Thiru says, why is love not the first value, since it is undercurrent of all values? Then the second value is truth, followed by right conduct. Thiru, a very logical question. Why do we have truth as the first value? See, if you really look at from the philosophical perspective, yes, love is undercurrent of everything. In fact, the source is love. But unfortunately, It's like catch 22. Which came first, faith or experience? We will talk about it next time. Love is there, but you cannot experience and understand love unless you have understood truth. So truth becomes kind of the first starting point, which makes you realize that it was pervaded by love. So unless and until we are clear about our truth, unless and until we are aware of our truth, we won't even acknowledge love. That is the tragedy of life. That love will look like a feeling which is just there and which makes you weird about it. But the moment you are aware of your truth, it when you experience the truth, then you see the manifestation of love everywhere. So acknowledgement of love happens with truth. But yes, the origin of truth is from love. So I agree with that. So love is the starting point and the emergence also, you can say. So love is everything. But acknowledging love, you need truth. Hence, the formal journey starts with truth. Even though we are in love, but the formal journey starts with inquiry, starts with knowing who am I. And the moment I start inquiring, I start experiencing love. So it is not that something is originating from other, it is all mixed. But the acknowledgement process starts with truth. And then once you find one, then it's like a rapid fire. You just get to know that, my God, everything was same. So yes, you are also right. Love is the first, but for practicing purposes, for acknowledgement purposes, the truth becomes the first value to practice. Hope this serves. Ishwarya D, she has a concept. 1 minute. Could the 3HV concept be added in all school as part of the life science curriculum? Perhaps it could be implemented as a team building program. Well, sister, it can be. It has, but implementation is not in our hands. How every school wants to, you know, use these concepts. But yes, these are the philosophy. As long as people start acknowledging that what is our undercurrent philosophies on which the whole thing is based on. See, based on these philosophies, there are few more we will touch upon maybe next session. So we'll look at it that all our even guidelines in our rules and regulations of the school, they all have origin into these philosophies. The way we deal with our children, the way we negotiate with our parents, with our community, with our teachers, with our whole school and the society is all coming out of these philosophies of education. So these philosophies are not just a theoretical concept, they are very much practical and they do take shape in reality in practical aspects. But first, foremost is acknowledging, understanding these philosophies. So, yes, there is also sometimes a concept, people start feeling, have we arrived to teach? We always believe that, as we hear, that unless you practice, you don't have eligibility to talk about it. This is a good concept and it's a true concept. But there's one section scripturally allowed to share, and that is a teaching staff. A teacher, see, in English, unfortunately, we have only one word, teacher. But in Sanskrit, we have got many words, which tells you the strata. There is shikshak, there is adhyapak, there is acharya, there is pradhanacharya, then there are stratas, and then it becomes guru. So a teacher has got to start the journey to become a guru. The guru is one who is attained the state, and he is the one who can teach us through his life and experiences. The acharya is one who has practiced them. So while practicing, he is teaching. Adhyapak is one who delivers. So the problem is, in English, it is difficult to comprehend this growth of a teacher also. But see, if I have got something and I'm finding it beneficial, and I have had the fortune to sit under a master and learn something, and if I think that I must not speak till I achieve, then it could be I'm right, but it also could be a waste of the gift God has given. So when we speak, I should not talk personally, personally speaking, as if I'm the authority on it. That's why I very humbly tell you in the beginning also, and I have written it also. This is a philosophy of education, not by me. Okay, I'm just sharing with you. Yes, I do attempt to practice it, but have I achieved it? Not necessarily. Because if I achieve it, probably my tone of talking, my need for talking may not be there. Like Ramana Maharshi, he did not have to call people, people went. Bhagwan Baba was not calling people to come and see and listen to him. He would just be there and the world will flock. The point is, the moment you become that, you attract. But the teaching faculty has been given this concession that as long as you can genuinely share the knowledge which you have received, you are allowed to. And that is why we are also supposed to keep telling people that don't follow me because I may make mistakes. We all are in journey. That's why in our scripturally, if you look at it, when we study the whole thing, you realize that there are great rishis who have composed and who have deciphered this Vedic knowledge, but their names are hardly mentioned. To find out who wrote that and who gave this discovery, you may have to go to Upanishads and other scriptures to discover who gave this enlightening thought. Because they were not interested in putting their name up and saying that this is what I did. Because they all understood that it was given by something, somebody, that, tat. Hence, we are immaterial. But sharing was important because you are chosen to be that instrument to share. So they shared. And then the journey continues. So it's not important that who is talking between us, but what is important is how genuinely and how purely we are able to become that instrument to pass it on. That's why there's no copyright tags anywhere. Just feel free, use it. As long as we can use this information, this knowledge, we will be benefited. The world will be benefited. So yes, you're right. So many teachers I have seen, they have this feeling comes in their heart that they have told me that we are also learning. How do I teach the child? It doesn't matter. Whatever you have learned, just go to the class and share with your passion. Even if you make a mistake, tell these children that, hey, I'm sorry, and move on. Today's children are much mature, they are much smarter, they are much good and much genuine. If you are genuine with them, they will feel it, they will tell you, they will respect you for it. So don't have any hesitation about it. Any other questions before we close for today? When I'm in the moral dilemma, how can I know I'm right? So there is a question which is asking for moral dilemmas. Um, Maybe we can have another session and we'll choose all these topics and we can discuss it in more detail. But for now, I think if there is any question pertaining to these philosophies, we can look at it. So teachers, all the best. I think we had this good session. But anyways, so if you have any further questions or comments or suggestions, please feel free to write. please feel free to send me, and we can look at it in the next session. And do suggest another time if you like to continue this, because there are a few more concepts which we can share, so we can hold another session for it. So look forward to your feedback and look forward to your suggestion for the next meeting. Thank you very much. God bless.